Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
I'm going to give you a quick overview of how to play the game. You're going to have all of your cards over here, the improvements, one for each number over here. Your Traveler deck here. You're going to get your Forest and your Meadow up, and you're going to have a card through here. Everybody's going to get their 2 dice. They're going to take their workers and put it in their little cottage here, and each one of these houses is going to cover up one of these spaces here. Once that is all set up, you're ready to go. The first thing you do each round is take over the top of the Traveler deck. You're going to read here, which usually have an effect that you will do, and usually will have options here what somebody can do during the turn. Then the spring for each side will be flipped over, and this will give you worker placement actions that you're going to have during the turn. Then everybody's going to take their 2 family dice, and they're going to roll these. I rolled a 5 and a 1, and they'll put it right here on their player board. Then you're going to take your 4 people, and everybody will do this simultaneously. You just put it out on action spots of whatever you want to do. Now, nobody can block you. You just can't go to the same spot twice. I couldn't send 2 workers here. You have to go to different locations. So the locations you're going to have available are the 4 up here in the forest, each one of these, this spot, these 2 here, the improvements, and you can always go in here if you want to, based on whatever this card is going to say. Once that is done, whoever the first player is will roll all the communal dice, put them here on the hill, and then it'll be time for the first player to go. The way the player is going to do this is you're going to look at these locations. Here is an example. This one says if you have a worker here, which I did not, I had placed a worker here, but if I had placed a worker here, I would need to use a 3 or a 4. If you look here at all the dice rolled, I didn't roll a 3 or 4. So had I put a worker here, I could not have utilized the space. I would take this guy back, and I would gain a story tile, which would, on my next turn, allow me to plus or minus 1 to a die. So if you take a worker back because you can't use him, then you would get one of those for free. But I didn't. I went here, which means for 2 wood and a mushroom, which I would receive, if I put dice there equaling 11 or higher. So I could go here and take my dice, let's say the 6 and the 5, and that would be 11 or higher, then I would get the 2 wood and the mushroom, and that would go into my supply. You're going to do that for each of the steps. Now, these up here will normally give you resources. If you were to go in this area, you would look at here. So let's say I went here, I could get 2 stone if I used a 3 or a 4. Here's a 4. So I could put this dice here, take my worker back, and I would gain 2 stone. Here, I would get a coin or a stone, but I would have to use only a 2. I could get 1 stone here if I used a 1, 6, or a 5, but I would have had to put a worker there. This spot right here is a marketplace. I can give up 1 coin. So if I happen to have a coin, I can give it up and gain any 1 resource that I want. I can give up 2 resources that are the same. So let's say I had 2 of these yarns. I can give these 2 up and gain any 1 resource that I wanted. So let's say I needed a wheat. I could grab that wheat instead. Or I can give up 3 resources, any 3 that I want, and grab a coin for my services. Give those 3 up and gain a coin. And you can use these as many times as you wish. Down here is where I'm going to draw a card. So if I go here, I can take any one of these cards. I would add this to my hand, scoot these down, and I would grab an additional card that would come out. If I were to go here on a 1 or 2, I would simply take 2 cards into my hand from the top of the deck. So they're random. I'm not going to get to pick what comes out. If I use a 3, 4, 5, or 6 die, so let's say I want to use a 3 die down here, take my worker back, I would just get 1 single card off the top of the deck. So I'm kind of taking a risk on what I'm going to get, whether it's going to be useful or not. Finally, over here, so this is where I could use a die. So let's say I haven't taken my turn yet, and all of these die are available to me. I can take these actions in any order that I want, of course. That means I can spend a die. So if I spent a 3 die, that means I can take any of these improvements. That's 3, 2, or 1. If I had spent a 4, I could have taken anything 4 or lower. Now, the trick to taking one of these is not only do you have the dice there, I have to be able to build it right away. So I have to have the 2 wood and a coin in order to build it. If let's say I utilized a 3. Let's say I would have utilized a 3. I took the number 3 one, I pay my 2 wood and a coin, Then I take one of my houses off of my player board and I put this on there. So that's going to tell you at most I can have 4 of these improvements in front of me. Now I would have this power that's on below it to use at any point. If you look here on your player board, you're going to have hearts, and these are going to be covered up at the beginning of the game with these houses. And as I build one of those improvements, say I built this improvement right here, I would take this house off here. It's going to be 1 victory point to end of the game. If you look, the second one's going to give me 2. The third one's going to give me 4, and then back down to 1. So the most I can get from this is 8 points if I build all 4. And that's how the improvements are going to work. After I take my turn and do all my actions, my people will come off the board. My family dice will have been back on my board, and the next person will go, but they will also utilize the communal dice. They would go on their turn. Once, at the end of your turn, if you have any of these craft cards in your hand, I can give up a stone and 2 coins and build this, because at the end of my turn, after everybody's done, I can have a maximum of 3 cards in my hand. So it behooves me to build these and get the victory points as quickly as possible. At the end of the turn, you're going to go to a cleanup phase where we'll take these cards off. We will pull out a new one. Then we will get rid of the one on the right the most, scoot these down, and a new card will come out. Same thing here on the improvements. We'll get rid of one of these. These will come down, and we'll put some new ones out. It's important to note that anytime somebody buys a card here or here, a new one is put out immediately. And then in the next round, we're going to have a new Traveler card, and we'll do the same thing over. This will continue until we get through all of these cards and all of these rounds, and you hit the winter phase. Once you see the winter phase, the game ends, and then you'll tally up the score. For the most part, you're going to score points for your cards, and some of the cards will have bonuses at the bottom. For your improvements, will give you victory points, and sometimes they'll have at the bottom. Then you'll score points for the different goodies that you have. Each coin's going to be worth a point. A number of resources will be a point, and you want to convert those. And these books are worth 2 points each. Whoever has the most points is the winner of the game.